this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well. This is part 3 of making our Halloween journals. And I had wanted to post this the other day, but I have not had a chance to get in my craft room. I've had a lot of things going on. But let me first of all say hi and hope you guys are doing okay and having some time to do some crafting. I have done a little bit today on this that I made some changes. I changed up our cover a little bit. If you haven't watched 1 or 2, it's on the playlist, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. But I had put these 3 flowers on here, and these are just some Prima flowers that I put on. There's 2 gray ones, and then there's a purplish one. And I had changed the color a little bit to be closer to the color we wanted. And then I also put some little black soot on the edges, and I put a little bit of this silver chunky glitter on it to kind of blend this all in. These little things here are, I don't know what you call them, like little branch things that you get like at the dollar store or for whatever. They're for, you know, flower arrangements. Well, I went ahead and put those on and kind of re-glittered them because a lot of the glitter had come off. And then I put hairspray on it to hold the glitter in, just on the branch parts. So because I thought it did not look, I don't know, Halloweenish enough or something. So I went ahead and did that. And then the rest is everything that we had done. You know, put on the trim and this over here. We did that already. And then here's the back. We did the back. So we've got the front and back done. Now we had done this spine, and I think it was, what, 2.5 inches? Yeah, 2.5 inches. Well, what happened is I went ahead and I did all of my signatures and my papers, and I haven't even filled them up yet. And it's going to be a big journal. Let's just say that. So what I did is I went back and I redid the spine, and I made it a 4-inch spine, okay? So that I have plenty of room to put all kinds of stuff in this journal, okay? So that's basically all I did is I went back. I did this one a little different. I added these little corner pieces here and here because we had a lot of room because the spine is so big. And then I put the bow on the bottom because I'm going to be adding a tassel up here. So that is what we did to the spine, okay? So basically I did everything the same as we did before. And that's pretty much it. I didn't do that much different. I did put a piece of paper on the back just because it just looked more finished, and it'd be a flatter surface and a better surface to adhere. So what we're going to do today is we're going to connect this all together, and then we are going to sew our signatures in, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it to the journal that we've made, okay? Because it's going to be a floating spine. So that's kind of a lot to get through, but hopefully I won't have to do a lot of editing, and we can go ahead and get it all done in one video. And then I'm probably not going to show you much more on this because the decorating and things like that, I don't know if I'll be doing a video on that or not. I think probably we'll go into the next journal. Hopefully I'll get a video out on that in the next couple days or so. And then that way we can get to the point where I'm decorating that one, and then we can do our giveaway. So in case you don't know, I will be giving at least one of these journals away. And it will be, well, basically when I get done with them, okay? Which I hope will be by Halloween. But in any case, to enter, you just have to make a comment on any of my videos. It doesn't even matter if it's this video or a current video, because I can tell chronologically, you know, when you make a comment. And I'm basically keeping track of when I started this, which would be the first video on this, until the giveaway, which I don't know exactly when that's going to be, But so basically just keep watching and commenting, and just have to be a subscriber, make a comment. And I do pay for shipping within the United States, and you can win outside the United States, but I only pay up to $20 shipping. So you'd have to decide at that point if you want to pay the shipping. Some places it's not that expensive at all. Other places it's astronomical. And also you can't even figure out actually what the shipping cost is. So that's the only issue on shipping overseas right now, because things are crazy. Anyway, that is the rules. So if you comment on, 8 of my videos, 1 per video, when that does is you'll be entered 8 times. Okay, so you can only make a comment once on each video, and it can be old videos, new videos, it doesn't matter. Okay, but I'm counting from when we did episode 1 on our Halloween journals, whatever day that was. I don't know, I'd have to go back and look on the day that I published that, and from that day that I published it on out, I'm counting all of the comments, and until I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, I'll have both these journals done, okay? So anyway, let's get right to doing this, because I really want to have time to get it all done. We are going to be using something called Tyvek, T-Y-V-E-C, I believe, or V-E-K. And this is it's kind of almost like a nylon feeling paper, and this is the same thing that you get your mailing envelopes. A lot of them will come in this, and it's pretty much indestructible. We are going to use that to connect these together. Okay, I have a piece here that is, let me use this one. You really want about 1 inch on each side, so that you can connect it to your cover. So this is 4 inches, all right, and so that gives me 1 inch on each side. Okay, and what that will do is that will be a permanent, like hinge here with your book. You could use material, and a lot of times I use material and Tyvek, so that's not unusual. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this, because it is very strong to connect it, okay? So I am going to do that. And let me get my piece that I was going to put on top of here. I think it was this one. Okay, I am also going to be putting this piece of paper, and it is paper from the same paper pack that this is in, and it actually has almost a feeling of like a wallpaper. So I think it'll also add some strength, and also you won't probably be able to see this after it's connected and everything, but I'm going to be doing that, and that will help connect our whole thingy together there. Let me move that. Okay, I'm going to just put this on, and this is just for looks, the paper, but it does add a little bit of extra strength. And I'm just going to use a little bit of my art glitter glue. I don't need to, that pin in there is rusting out. I guess it's not stainless steel. All right, anyway, I'm putting that on here, and that is really just to give it a little extra strength. All right, over here for a minute. Get my little spreader thing. I put a little bit too much glue, but that's okay. All right, so anyway, I have these two on there, and they should dry fairly quickly. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, this is going to be on the outside, so that if for any reason you see a gap in there, that's what you'll see. You'll see that kind of black paper. It's not really black, it's kind of a grayish color. I just put a wrinkle in it. Did not mean to do that, but that's okay. Gotta let it dry a little bit. Anyway, so now I'm going to put this down here And then this is the part that I need to first of all attach this to that. And then we're going to be putting these pieces on, okay? So this is the back, and the back will go on this side, okay? And I use the lines on my mat to make sure I'm putting things on straight. So I can see this bottom line here, okay? And I'm lining it up so that it's straight. And then I'm going to put this here. In fact, what I think I'll do is I'll put it on another line going this way. So that will give me an idea that I've got it in there good. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm lining up this line here. And then I'm lining up this bottom line here. And then I'm going to put this on. Like, let me use my 3-in-1 for that. Just because it's a little bit stronger. And I'm going to put, you know, quite a bit of glue on that. Because I do want it to stick really well. And we've got some bumps in here. So, got to make sure it all sticks good. I'm putting quite a bit of glue because I know we've got a lot to attach here. And this is the structure of your book, so you want to make sure that it stays intact. All right, and now I'm going to spread it out a little bit just to make sure we get all the corners and good stuff like that. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. I had to go out of town for a day or two, and then I dealing with my new puppy. She has been, like, for some reason waking up like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning every morning, and it's like she's had enough sleep and she wants to play, and I'm like, no. So I'm having to adjust to that. Or actually get her to adjust to a schedule, but it's caused some problems for me. So, all right, I got to put this closer to me because it's kind of a little bit too far up so I can see it. So let me line those two up. Really not that important about lining it up right at this particular moment, but when you put your other two sides on, and I'm going to try and go, I think it's 1 inch, so I can tell here that's 1 inch. So it might be a little bit more than 1 inch. So I'm going to go, it doesn't really matter if you do more than 1 inch. But I'm trying to line this up with the line down here, okay? But I'm trying to line it up with the line here and up there so I know that I have it on there straight. And my Tyvek's a little bit shorter than my actual piece back here. And that's okay. I want it that way because I don't necessarily... Oh, you know what? I put this on backwards. Yeah, I want this to go on there. I did it backwards. I want the black part to be here. I don't know that it would have made that much difference, but oh good. See, I have lines here, so if I put that on straight, I'll be able to tell in a second. Okay. Jeez. Anyway, guys, it wouldn't have made that much difference, but my point in doing it that way is that if this folds open and you see some of it, I don't want it to be white in there. Most of the time I use material, but this time I just decided to use this. So I'm going to smush that down, make sure it has good contact. Let this other glue dry. And where's my clips? I'm going to put some clips on it to get nice, good contact. All right, so I'm going to put that there. And now what I want to do is I'm going to put this right over here. Okay, I am going to try and get that straight. This part is really when you want to line it up. So I've got my line here and a line here. And this is my front, and it should be on the right side because when you turn it over, that's how it's going to turn. And you need to have a little tiny gap in between. And I used to just take a piece of chipboard like this and then just kind of put it in there to make sure that my gap is the same. and then line this up with the bottom. And to me, that's the easiest way to do it, okay? And then do that on the other side. So now all I'm going to do is put some glue here. Oh, you know what? Look at this. Guys, I had this whole upside down. Ah, gosh, I think today is going to be one. It's actually tonight for me, because I've been doing stuff all day, trying to get up here to do this. And I finally just said, I just got to go do it. I just got to go do it. Okay. So that will go here. Let me push that down, make sure it's making good contact. Okay, so now that we have that in there, this is when we're going to glue these two sides on. And I'm going to line it up. You know, basically this is acting as a T-square, which I really need to get one. I think I could use one a lot. Okay, so then I'm putting this right here. And all that's going to do is give me a little bit of a gap so that my journal can open and close. If you don't leave that gap, oh, I'm not going to use that glue, I think I'm going to use this other glue. I don't know what I was thinking. My paper towel. Wipe that up. Oh, it's going in there. And I decided to put the bow on the bottom on this. I don't know if I said that or not, because I'm putting a tassel up there. So we'll see that later. So I am just going to put my glue here first. And you want a good amount of glue. This is what's going to keep your book together. You know, this is adhering it, and it will hold. It'll, oh, okay, get off, get out of there. I am constantly getting that bow in there. It's in the way. I should clip that. I'm just going to clip it out of the way so I don't get stuff on there. There we go. All right. So, let's do that. And I'm just going to spread it out because we want good contact all the way. Okay. And all the ends. Okay, there we go. So now I'm just going to keep this. This is going to make sure that my distance is, you know, the same all the way across. And I'm going to make sure, I'm going to put this, that I get the bottom of this front lined up with that. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. Okay. Looks good. I'm just going to put that down, let it sit there for a second. Take that out. So that makes sure that we have it. Let me put that in. Oh, it looks like I need to push it in a tiny bit on top. Okay, that just makes sure we have the same gap. And I'm looking at this, making sure. I'm going to move this up and put it on the line so I can make sure it is exactly straight. But it has stuck to the bottom a little bit. Oh, now I got to do it all over again. That's okay. I'm getting the bottom of this journal lined up with this line, and that helps me know that it's not tilting one way or the other. You don't want it tilted up or tilted down, and that helps you. And I'm just going to put that back in, butt that against. You could do anything. You use a ruler, anything that will give you the distance that you want. But I find this is enough of a gap to make it work. So now see, I'm looking at this line here, and I have that, it's on that line and it's on that line. Okay, so that tells me that we're good there. We're good here. Okay, so that's good. And then we want to lift it straight up so we don't move it. Okay. So then we're going to basically do the same thing on this side, but this is already in place. I'm going to go ahead and put clips on that trying without to move it. Here, let me go. Make sure that gap stayed the same and it's still straight. Yeah, it looks good. And get us back on our line. Move that down one so you guys can see better. Okay, so we've got it on our line, and we've got it on our line this way. I always, when I do a binding like this, I always use my mat. Always use my mat because it really helps you. It's, you know, and all these little squares are there for a reason. So, you know, those lines are there for a reason. So I use them, and it does help. And one time I was cranking out little golden books, and basically you do the binding pretty much the same as far as this part goes. And so, yeah, I mean, to make sure they were all straight, I just would do one or another, one right after another, right on my mat, and it really helps. Because it's pretty easy to, you know, be crooked. It's not, you know, not that difficult to do. Got little string pieces here. Okay. So now we're going to get this piece on. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to put it right here. Butt it up against there. And I've got that on the square there, and I'm going to make sure everything's on that line. I've got it all on that line. I mean, don't just eyeball it is what I'm trying to say, because eyeballing it doesn't always work. Okay, that's that line. That's there. That line, let me see. Is that straight there? Let me see. It almost looks like this thing here is off a little. Okay, let me get it all on there. All right, so that has to come up a tiny bit. Okay. All right, so we got that on. Got our piece there. Okay. Pull it out and put my clips on it. And look at it one more time in case we have to make any adjustments. So now I'm going to let that dry. Push down in there and make sure it gets good contact all the way across. I might put something heavy on that. I'm trying to think, what do I have? Okay, so I moved that over just to let it dry because we have another part that we need to do. And what we're going to do now is that we are going to actually sew our signatures in to a separate piece. And so it's going to be a floating, floating spine, basically. And what that does is it allows some movement of the spine, and it kind of helps you when your book open and closes so that it lays flat better. So I am going to go ahead. I have to cut this Tyvek, and the other one was what, 4, 5, 6 inches. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger because I want it to cover the white part of the white part of the paper, because the white is going to be on the inside. Remember, I had done it backwards, but the black is on the outside, the white is on the inside, and whatever we put on here is going to cover it a little bit, okay? So I'm going to make it, let's see, we had it, was it 6 inches? So this only goes 6 inches, but I'm just going to go a little bit past that. I'm just going to go a little bit past it, maybe another inch. And I'm just approximating because this thing only goes 6 inches and I'm too lazy to get my other cutter out. So let's call it 7 inches. So we'll have a 1/2 inch extra on each one. Okay, and that is our piece that we're gonna adhere our signatures to. And what I do on that, okay, 4 inches of this is our spine, okay? And then the rest of it is going to wind up being, you know, just little flaps that we attach to our journal. We have 3 signatures we're putting in here, okay? So I need to have 3 lines going up and down where I'm going to put my signatures in here. We're going to sew our signatures to this, okay? So I am going to go ahead and figure that out. There's several ways you can do it. You can do it with your ruler. Let me get my ruler that's not too messed up. I keep messing up these rulers and having to buy new ones. So, because when I go to clean them, I take off, it was like I'm scrubbing off the numbers. I think this is my one that's the best. So you can take a ruler like this and you know, find the middle, and basically you find your 0. Okay, so we got to go, you want to get equal distance. Here we have 3, and let's see, 1/2, and then 1/8. And the same on this side. So that will tell you that this is your middle. So here's my middle, okay? So I'm going to go 1, 2, right? And then 1, 2. So that is basically the width of my spine right here, okay? That's the width of my spine. So I know that I only care about what happens here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half, and that should end up on the same spot. Oop, I didn't fold it very well. Where is my bone folder? There we go. I bought a 4-pack of bone folders and I'm down to 1 left, so I have no idea where they go. I have no idea. Like, they just disappear. Okay, so that is our middle, all right? So now what I want to do is I want to find the middle of these two right here, okay? The middle of this and the middle of that, because that is what is going to be where we put our signatures. Normally what I would do is I would take this and I'd fold it in half, and that would give me my other 2 pieces. But because we're only using this middle 4 inches, we have to find the middle of this 2 inches and that 2 inches. So that is pretty much what we're going to do. And we're going to go, so that tells us at least we measured it right? So that's right there. And that is going to be, oop, I'm doing that wrong. That's going to be right there. Get that right. Okay, and then, where is my scoreboard that I had out? I thought I had my small one somewhere. I'm going to just use my small scoreboard, and that way I can know that I am getting my something in it. Okay, my line's right. So I'm going to score these with my scoring thingamajiggy, wherever that is. So I'm just going to take my line that I made right here, and I'm going to go down. Where are you going to be? I should have done it up higher, but that's okay. I'll just go up. So I'm going to score that. Okay, so that's going to be where my first one is. I could have used my bigger scoreboard and it would work better. And then I'm going to go as far down as I can. And let's see, that's this one. So I'm going to score it. And we've already done that. Okay, so then this one's going to go here. So these are the 2 lines that we need, and I don't necessarily need to fold those. That's not why I put them there. I just put them there so that I would have a straight line going up that I can use. Like that. Well, it didn't mark very good. Let me try this one. Going up there. There we go. Boy, we're getting some rain. It's pouring right now. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And I'm going to do the middle. I kind of already know where that line is. And you don't even have to do this. You don't have to draw the line. You could just use the score lines, and not, if you can see them well. I'm kind of doing this mainly so you can see where the lines are. Okay, so now we have where we're going to place our signatures, okay? So we're going to have 1 signature here, 1 here, and 1 there, right? Now the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out if we're doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And, you know, of course we can fold those if that helps, but honestly, you're only really caring about whether it's straight all the way down. That's all you really care about. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put our 3 dots in of where we're going to place our signatures. And again, I'm using my ruler. I love this ruler for this reason, but I keep messing them up, and so, all right. So you want to get them approximately, you know, where you've got the same distance here as you do there. And I'm doing, this is the middle line, and I'm just going to go and put a dot right there of where I'm going to put one of my holes, okay? Then I like to do my other ones at least 1 inch in, a lot of times 1.5 inches. Let's see. Let me think. If I do 1 inch is here, I'll just do 1 inch on this. So I'm going approximately, it's a little over an inch, but an inch from the inside here and an inch from the inside here, okay? Now, the important thing after that is to make sure that your other dots on your other lines, because you have, this is your other line, this is your other one where you're going to put your signature. You want to make sure there that you have a straight line across. So you can use your mat again. Make sure that's straight on the line. And then you can take this and go across and use another line for it. To use it on top because we don't have a line there. I'm measuring that line to that line. Make sure it's straight. So then that way when you do your other circles, they're not crooked, okay? And you're just going to do that down here. And you can eyeball it, I mean, you know, but if you want to make sure it's accurate, just use your mat and your ruler, and it doesn't take that much more to do that. It really doesn't. So just use your lines to help you gauge, you know, where things are. And we're going to go down here. Use that line. Okay, so that pretty much, that's going to mark where we want our holes in our signatures and in this piece, our floating piece, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to cover this with another piece of scrap paper. Let me see, I picked one out here. So now what I'm going to do is take my pieces here, okay? Now the part with the dots and everything, I'm not going to cover that because that's the back, and that's going to go down like this, okay? But it gives me my holes that I need to work with it. Okay, that looks good. All right, I'm just going to use this glue and cover it. All right, so now that I've done that, I have my 3 signatures over here. And there's one, where'd the other one go? Okay. 2 and 3. Okay, so I have 3 signatures, and I am going to put them in. I'm trying to remember what order. This was the back one, this was the front one, and that was the middle. Okay, so there's my 3 signatures. And you can see why I went ahead and made that bigger. Okay, so now I'm going to put these signatures in. I usually put the middle one in first. I have no idea why. I just do. When I do 3, somehow that's how I do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew one of these signatures in for you or with you. And then I'm going to turn the camera off and come back after I've sewn them all in. And then you can see the last part of what we do. Okay, so let me get the middle one out. The most important thing is make sure that all of your pages are the right way, where you want them, where they're positioned, where they need to be. Because I have lots and lots of times there'd be a page upside down, or some, I've put in whole signatures upside down, so have done that before. So you're getting a little sneak preview of what's going in there. Now, what I do, and I know people do this different, I do all of my sewing, not all of my decorating, but all of them, anything that needs to be sewn, I do that before I attach to my signatures. Okay, that's just how I do it. And then later I'll still decorate. I'll still put a lot of stuff in here, a lot of pockets, a lot of things that I don't sew in, and then you know, that's how I do it. Because you can't really sew, you know, after you put your signatures in. I guess you could, but it'd be hard. So anyway, these are my signatures. I've got everything where I want it. This is the middle. I've got my pages where I want them, okay? And I'm going to do this. And I always, at the last, you know, I go through it again. I kind of hold it. And I'm looking through, making sure all my pages are where I want them. Now I'm going to take some clips, And I am going to kind of hold this up like this. This is how I do it. I kind of just hold it like that. And I clip these as, you know, as close as I can to the bottom on each side. And I'll do that on this side. Because if you hold it at an angle, it'll go down as tight as it can go. And that's what I do. I don't put these clips on while it's sitting flat. Okay. And that is what I did. Let me make sure that went down as flat as it can go. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so that is how pretty much I do it. So that is my signature. And now I am going to punch holes in my signature. And I'm actually going to use this as my template. And that's another thing. Make sure you mark top and bottom, because even though we measured this, if it's off a tiny bit and you go and back and try and put your signature and you do one the opposite way, it can be off like a millimeter or something. And you know, you'll notice when you're done. So, all right, I'm going to use, I guess, that thread. And I have my wax thread. And also too, I saw somebody asking what a signature is. A signature is each piece that I'm sewing here, I'm sewing these in separately. A signature is a collection of papers that you're putting in each one of these little slots you're sewing in. So you could have one signature and that would be just this and the cover, or you could have, you know, 2 signatures where they're side by side like that, or 3, but you're basically, that's your collection of papers that you're sewing in, okay? So we're sewing in a signature, but what I'm doing is I'm punching holes in this already, and this is our middle signature, okay? And I don't know why, but when I do 3 signatures, I like to put in the middle one. I have no idea why. I don't think it matters which one you do, so I don't think it makes any difference. All right, let me see if I've got my needle in here, wherever it is. I have my really tall needle that I use. And I love using that needle, and I don't even know where I got it. Also, too, on the wax thread, somebody asked if you have to use that. No, you don't, but it makes it a lot easier. It makes your signatures a lot, you can tighten them a lot better, you know. So I would suggest using wax thread. And another person asked if you can use like you know, embroidery thread. Yeah, and you could get wax. I've done that before. I have like a block of beeswax, and I just run my my embroidery thread over it, and it works. So you just want to make sure whatever you use, it's strong, because you don't want it to fall apart. But if you put your embroidery thread over it, then you have basically, I mean, if you put your wax over it, you basically have wax thread. So, you know, it's just, all right. And I mean, I do it several times. Okay, I usually do this 3 lengths. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 for good measure. And then that is about that. So I gotta cut it right here. And then I go like that. And then what I do is I take a paper clip, and I just do this because the back, I mean, it so many times it has gone through on me, and it's just so much easier. Do like that, and I don't double tie it, I just do like that. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch my holes in my signature. And the way I do it is I have this on my top, and I have this bent, and I'm just going to set it up here, and this is the same height, okay? So I'm putting it in here, all right? And I'm lining it up, and I'm folding it in, okay? And if this is actually off a tiny bit, if it's off a tiny bit, like see right here, I line it up to either the top or the bottom. Okay, that's important because later on, that tiny little millimeter that you're off, you don't want to be off that. Okay, so that's going here. That's about right there. Okay, does that look good? All right, so I'm going to put that in. I'm using this as my template because that's where my holes are going to go. And if you want to, let me see, you can put, there's my big clips. You can put clips on this to keep it in place. I've gotten to the point where I usually don't do that anymore. And here's a big clip. Okay. I usually don't do that anymore, but you definitely can so it doesn't move. And that's just so this doesn't move, okay? So get that in there nice and tight. I actually don't put my signatures or anything in a cradle. I actually just hold them like this. I find to me that's the easiest way to do it. You know, everybody does it differently. But when a lot of people put it in a cradle like that and it holds it tight like that, I just hold it in my hand. And I will usually just punch my hole. I'm going to go in the middle first with it kind of tucked down. I can see inside here where the hole is. So I've got it all lined up and I have it like that. And I'm just going to punch my hole through. And this paper is actually very strong because it has that vinyl to it. So I've got a nice hole right there. Then I'm going to do the next one. There's my next one. But I keep it kind of closed when I do it. And that allows you to go straight through and make sure you're not going off to the side because your goal is to get to where it's going right straight down the middle. It's not going either to one side or the other. Oh, there. That material, I'm telling you, it's really feels like that heavy wallpaper, you know, that vinyl wallpaper. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to do the last one. Hold it up here. Yep. And if you keep it kind of shut like this, then basically you will get it through there. And that's what the idea of people using a cradle. But I just don't think I need it. But, you know, you might find it handy. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off. Oh, wait, I want to keep these on. The ones that are on my signature, I keep on. I'm just taking the ones of this off right here. Okay. So I leave these on while I'm sewing it in. Some people don't. I just don't want my papers to move around. So what we're going to sew this to is this is going to get glued face down like this, okay? So we're going to actually be sewing it to these. Before I do that, I'm going to punch my other holes out because it'll be kind of hard to do once it's sewn to the other where our dots are, okay? So we'll have all those holes punched out, and there we go. One more over there. And be careful because I have punched a hole in my hand before. You get doing some journals late at night. Oh, God. I've had some wounds. Anyway, so then what you want to do is just, we're gonna attach it to this. We're going to attach it to the black side because this is going to go down like that on your book, okay? And the white side we will not see. Get my needle and thread here. And the way I do it is I usually start in the middle, okay? And I'm going to go through the black side, the middle hole that we've already punched, okay? I'll make sure I have the top on the top. Yep, I do. And it's really the same as sewing it into a regular, you know, if your book is finished. I actually think this is easier. It's an extra step, but it's actually easier to manipulate than having your whole journal. And I'm going through the top. It doesn't really matter if you go to the top or the bottom next. You can do either one because your book doesn't know whether it's a top or a bottom. So, and then after that, you want to go to the bottom again. And I hold it like this because that gets you through. And you go through your bottom, okay? And it's so far super easy. Now, the thing is this is a little more difficult part, but it's not that difficult. I kind of hold it shut like this when I do this. I'm going to go through here. This is my middle hole again. Get it like that. Okay, and then I'm going to go through my middle hole here, and if I keep it shut, it'll go straight through and no issues. You do not want to Splice your thread that's already in there, because remember you already went through the middle first. You don't want to splice that. The reason you don't want to do that is then you cannot tighten your signature, okay? So there we go. We've got it all the way through, not hard. And this should pull right off. It's waxed, it comes right off. And what you do then is I take my threads here and I loop it around here, okay? Then I loop it around here, and I do this because, and then I go opposite ways, just pull them opposite. And this is only to give me leverage so I can tighten my signature, okay? You want them nice and tight, all right? Then you tie a knot, and I tie another knot, okay? And that's why wax thread is so good, is that it allows you to, and I'm going to kind of leave these dangly because I'm going to put some stuff on there. But that is it. And so that is our middle signature, okay, that we had put in. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to sew in a signature here and a signature here, just like that, okay? And then I will be right back. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of this sewn in, here's our signatures. And now you can see why I made my spine bigger. We're going to go ahead and put together our journal with our floating spine in there, okay? So this is the top, all right? And we have it sewn into our little thing with our tie back in it. And I'm going to connect this to the cover, but first what I want to do, because this spine will be floating, and when you open the book up you can see on the inside, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to put a little bit of this material covering just this back part right here, this 4 inches that we had, and I'm just going to cover that up with this. And I'm only doing that. You could use, certainly use like, I'm going to put this on here, I think would be easier. You could use, you know, some more of your paper too if you wanted to do that. But I'm doing it with the material because I don't want it to get too stiff. And I'm just doing that. Where'd my little spready thing go? And it's dripping. Get that over here. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Make sure I get that in there. Okay. I'm going to attach that, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is not. I didn't cut it perfect, but it's close enough that it'll fit on there. So I'm just going to stick that right to this portion. It covers the white. You're not going to really see it very much, but you will be able to see it a little, and I just would prefer it not be white under there. So that is all I'm doing. I got that really crooked, so anyway, there we go. Okay, and I know I didn't cut this very straight, so that's part of the problem. Okay, that's probably good enough right there. It doesn't really have to go over the whole thing. I just move this over a tiny bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, put it too far that way. All right, so that is going to go there, and I just made that really crooked over here. So I'm just going to put that there, and that can stay there. Now I'm going to put that to the side while it dries for a second. I'll rub that in there. And the other thing I'm going to do is, here's our journal that we put all together. Okay, so see our gap right there? That's why we put that black on that side, because when you open it up, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You'd see the white right there, okay? But that little tiny gap that we put with that, with our, not cardstock, but our chipboard, that is enough for it to fold. If you don't leave that gap there, then you're not able to do this. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of, I have this lace material. I'm going to put this in the middle, and it overhangs on the top a little bit, but that's fine. And I'm only doing that because, again, when our journal is moving back and forth, you will be able to see underneath that. And I don't want it to look, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I just want it to look okay. It's just a small detail. And remember, I had put the glue on the wrong side, so all right, so I'm doing that, and I'm going to spread this out. move that up here so everybody can see. I got it way down here. Let me see if I can move my camera a little bit to where you guys can see this. I don't know. Move it up here. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go just like that. And I'm only doing this as an extra because I don't want to be able to see, you know, just the white underneath there. I want there. And I know it's going to go above that, and that's okay. I like that look. I like it to peek out of the top, and I'm doing the and the bottom, and that's intentional on my part. So you get a wipe and get the extra glue off of there. Okay. I just don't want my back piece to get glued to this because that's the point, is for it not to be attached. Okay. So we're going to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back piece that we had. Remember, it's just, here's basically our journal. And I'm going to attach this to my actual journal. And I'm going to put, I only want the part that is not part of our journal to be attached. So I basically had marked off 4 inches and folded it. So here's my 4 inches right here. Okay, this is the extra, and I'm going to basically take this little line, because that is where our fold is, and I'm going to match it up to my journal here. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go, let's see, how far in am I going to go? Okay. And I honestly think I have too much on there, so I think what I'm going to do, let me see, get that on here. All right, so there we go. That is perfect. You want to make sure you get it straight. And that's why we went ahead and did that line. And I'm going to make this flap a little bit shorter. I think what I'm going to do is cut off just a little bit of it. And I have these polka dots, so that should help me keep it straight. It's not going to matter anyway. We're going to cover this up. So I'm cutting a little bit off. I got to cut off a little bit on the other side. I don't want it to stick out quite that far. You need to have at least an inch or more. And the reason you need that is that this is what's going to attach your entire book to your cover. Okay, now I'm going to put glue. Let me move that for a second. I'm going to put glue basically from the line right here over here, and I'll probably go in more after, but I want to do some to start, and that's where I'm going because I want to attach my pieces in here, and I'm doing it right at the joint right here. I don't want to go past that joint. Oop, I went up here too far. I have to squirt it out. Get that off. Okay, now, and I'm going to go ahead and get my spready thing and spread that out. Again, I don't want to glue past that joint because we're just putting that in. Make sure you have your journal right side up, because if you don't, then, you know. All right, so I've got my crease right at the 4-inch mark. And then I've got to bend this up, and I'm going to match those two up, and then I'm going to match the top and the bottom, okay, to make sure they're level, just like that. And move that up so you can see. So I'm going to make sure that everything matches. Let me get my bone folder, and then I'm going to make sure the top and the bottom are where they're supposed to be. And go like that, get that in there. And smush that down, okay? Make sure that goes in that crease, because that's what you want, okay? All right, so that is one side attached, and you're going to do the same thing to the other side. You're basically just going to put glue on that 4-inch part, on the non 4-inch part, and spread that around. I did on here, and put some on here, put a little bit over here. Okay, and we're going to get that all glued down. Fold this up, and I'm going to put this crease in with that crease. Okay, they need to match up, and then that is going to go down like that, and I'm going to kind of smush it, make sure it's level. See, it's kind of in the wrong spot. Going to move it around. All right, there we go. Get my bone folder and go in there. Get that crease in there good. Right? Okay. Get that all smushed in there. And see, I didn't put enough glue right there, so I'm going to go, wrong one. Put a little bit of glue on the ends because I didn't go down far enough. Okay, there we go. And that is what holds your entire journal to this, so you want to make sure that you have plenty of glue there. All right. Make sure this part is still down. Nope, see, it came up. Because what's happening right now, I'm going to take my clamps and put them up here for a minute so I can keep these out of the way. Let me do that. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to hold this up, get those in there. Make sure that it is staying attached and down. You want to make sure that both those creases are in there. Okay, that's good. The other side. Yep, okay. So they are down. Now I'm just taking my bone folder and making sure the crease is in there and it matches up with the side of the book or the journal. And I'm going to take my other little clips here and just clip the sides so they don't move. And I'm going to allow them to dry for a second. This needs to come down more, a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to put that there. And do the other side. And I'm just clamping these down so that they will not move when we do open the journal up, so because they have to stay down. There we go. Okay. And that is where they're going to stay until they dry. So that is it there. Let that dry a little bit. Okay, so we're only glued from this point back. And that's how you make your floating spine. Make sure no glue got caught in the middle. I don't think so. I'm putting my bone folder in there just to make sure. I have an extra one. Let me see where the other one went too. As I said, I've been going through these like crazy, so I'm going to put one in the other side. I don't want any glue on that part of the spine seeping through, because then we don't have a floating spine. We have an attached spine. So make sure that's in there good. Okay, there we go. So we've got that in there. And that's just making sure that it doesn't adhere there. And I'm going to keep making sure this middle part gets pressed down because I want that glued in there really good. Okay. So all we're going to do is let that dry, and then we will go to our next step, and I will be right back. Okay, so now I have it all attached and dried on both sides, and what you're going to see is if you open this up, you've got this gap right in here. Let me get my bone folders out of there. That will help pull those out. I still have them in there. I only put them in there just to make sure no glue seeped in there and that the bone folder didn't get, I mean not the bone folder, but the middle didn't get glued in. Okay, so we have this gap in here, and that's why I put the purple in there and the black. You can't, you know, I mean, you have to look down in there to really see it, but, you know, I wanted the black coming up the back a little bit. That's okay with me. That's fine. And then, I mean, you could do it more than that if you wanted to. And then the purple is on the inside because you can see it a little bit when it bends. But this is it. And the reason that you do that, a spine like that, is if you see this journal and how big it is, look how flat it lays. No matter where you put it. I mean, you have, it doesn't, you know, when you have your big journals that kind of, you know, you can't move, you can't lie, they lie flat. Now, that's a lot of reason why I do fabric journals when I do a big journal, because they also too lie flat because they have the give. But this gives it that give in there to do that. Now, the only other thing I'm going to do, and this is just decorative, is I'm going to put, I got a couple pieces of this lacy stuff, or I did have a couple pieces. I don't know what happened to the other one. But anyway, that's it, guys. That's all I'm going to do with this. It is a big journal, so, but, you know, put the tassel on the back and decorate. So thanks for joining me, and then we will go ahead and be doing our other journal, which is going to be a lot different than this journal. Completely different style, not nearly as big, but it'll be really fun. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.